Hi, I'm Corolla. On Instagram, I'm at From Corolla. Today is Fountain Pen Day. So, in honor of Fountain Pen Day, I wanted to talk about my fountain pen collection because I don't think I have in the past, even though I have done a Fountain Pen 101 video. And so, I just wanted to show you all my fountain pens, talk about the first fountain pens I've ever gotten, my latest fountain pen acquisition, and some of my favorite fountain pens that I've used, and some of the nibs that I love. So let's dive right in. So all in all, I have 60 fountain pens. That may sound like a lot to some people, and it might sound like a little to other people. Really, a collection is what you make of it. For me, it's more than one thing that brings me joy and happiness to look at, to feel, to use. And that's what fountain pens do for me. So let's start with my first fountain pen ever that I have still. So in 2012, I got my first fountain pen because I decided that I was going to start journaling using a fountain pen. And so I got a Lamy Safari, and this is the bright pink one. And I got a fine nib on this one. So this is what I started with, and I used cartridges. So loved it and decided that, I loved the writing experience so much that I wanted to add more pens to my collection. So I went on Amazon, I think, and I got this, I think it's called a Parker Urban, and it is from the brand Parker, and the nib, I think, is a fine. That's what I went to second. Then in 2016, I traveled to Vienna, Austria. I got this demonstrator with a medium nib, and that is probably when I fell in love with wider nibs, because I started off, with the fines, and they were great. But then I realized that with wider nibs, like a medium, you could actually see a little bit more of the ink properties, and that I fell in love with. So this is probably what got me into the wider nibs, which I'm very, very thankful for. So the two vintage pens that I have, I don't really have any other vintage pens. I would say I'm probably starting to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm more of a modern pen collector. And so the two pens that I did add to my collection, so this one is an Esterbrook J, and I really love the colorway, and so that's why I got it. I got it at an antique store. These are pretty easy to come by, and they're not that expensive. And so, I just added that. And then when I went to the California Pen Show in 2024, this year, I added this Conklin pocket pen to my collection. And why I got it actually is because it has a flex nib on it. And so, you can practice hand lettering and bouncy sort of lettering with this nib. And I love that it's compact and really cute. And so I'm very happy with this vintage. I also keep nibs here. So sometimes you can buy, or you can find pens where you can interchange the nib. And usually it's a number 6 or number 5 nib. And what you can do is you can actually just replace the nib unit in a pen. And that way you can, decide what nib you want to write with, get these custom ground if you want, and swap them out whenever you feel like. And so I keep them in these ink sample vials just to protect them when they're in this drawer. Then I just have a piece of paper with, what nibs they are. This one's a Kaweco, and this one I got in Japan. The clip broke, but that's okay. It's a Pilot Petite. These two are probably one of the earliest fountain pens I got in 2021, I think. This is the Pilot Metropolitan. And I would actually recommend this as one of the starter pens to try out if you're starting as fountain pens, because they're relatively inexpensive, but you get the feel of a Pilot nib. And Pilot nibs are amazing. They write really, really smoothly. And the other thing I have in here is an aluminum fountain pen from Muji. And it's a non-branded pen, but it's slim, and you know, if you're into aluminum, that's kind of cool. And this one is actually a special pen. This one is a pen by Hours, and it has Lily of the Valley, and so it's just a really pretty pen. I think it has a fine stainless steel nib. Let's talk about some of the other pens that I have that I don't currently have inked up. So I have a collection of TWSBI Ecos, and in different nib sizes, stub. This one is a stub glow. So it's purple, but in the dark it glows into a blue. I'm trying to show you how it glows, but it's light out, so you're not going to see it glow. So this one glows. This one does as well. This one's a green, and it glows sort of like a yellow-green. So TWSBIs are great writers. I would recommend them, and they're super fun. And they hold a lot of ink. So that's one thing about TWSBIs, I will say. I also have a couple of Esterbrook JRs, and these are their modern sort of mini pens. And they write really well. One thing to consider, of course, is the size and how it would fit in your hand as you're writing. For me, I have a small hand, so I like writing with these. I probably wouldn't do a long writing session with them, but they are still great writers. And I have a couple of Opus 88. This one's a pocket pen. This one is an eyedropper. And so you fill this with ink directly by just eyedropping ink inside. And it's great to travel with because you can actually open this up a little bit, and that allows the ink to go into the feed. But if you close it all the way, it sort of cuts off the ink continuing to go into the feed. And so the ink that you have in the feed is what you'll use. And so it's great to travel with because then you won't have constant ink flow. And then I have another Opus 88 demo. This one has a 1.4 millimeter stub. So you can see it's quite a wide nib. Also very, very fun to write with because it will show you the ink properties. And then on this side, I have a Benu Euphoria. This was a collaboration with Cult Pens, and I just love the colorway. It reminds me of Christmas colors, but I think it's actually called like an autumn pen or something. Something to do with autumn. So, you know, you sort of get those reds and greens in there. And then I have a Heinz pen. This is a independent maker of pens, and I got this at the San Francisco Pen Show in 2023, and it comes with a colored nib, which is amazing because that matches really well. And it also kind of reminds me of Christmas, but I think it's kind of a year-round pen. Then I have two Conklin Durographs, I believe they are. This is the abalone finish, so it has abalone shell. Very pretty. This is the Omniflex nib. I don't find it super flex, but it does have some give to it, so it is fun to write with. So then I have another Conklin. This one is a Narwhal or Navalure collab with Galen Leather, and it's a demo which is really pretty with a rose gold trim. Then I have another Lamy. I think it's called the Ion snap cap, and sort of the sleek looking pen. This one's a Kaweco Student, and I got this I actually won this in a giveaway, so yeah, it's really nice. It has sort of this vintage vibe to it. This one is a Pelikan M205, and it is also a piston filler, so it doesn't use a cartridge or converter. And Pelikan pens are really, really smooth to write with, though this is the only Pelikan I have for now. And then I got into the Sailor era, so these are 2 Sailors that I have. I actually have 3 in total. One I have inked up. So these are the 3 Sailors that I have. And the great thing about Sailors are they're small, so you know they're easy to hold, easy to carry around, and they have gold nibs. So these ones are 14 karat gold nibs, and this one is an MF nib, medium fine. And because Sailor nibs tend to write a little thinner or give you thinner lines than a Western pen would. So you sort of have to think about that when you get sizes of the nibs. This one is probably my all-time favorite Sailor, and I think it's called Sunset Over the Ocean, but I got it because it reminds me of a lighthouse, the lighthouse colors. The barrel actually has a sort of shimmer to it. So these are pens that I've retired, in quotes, but I do bring them back when I feel like I miss them and I have inks that I want to fill in them. And this pen case is from Esterbrook, and they gifted it to me. So it holds 20 pens, and I love that it has this velvet sort of soft cover in between to separate the pens and keep them protected. So I just want to mention the pens that are part of my collection, but I was gifted them. So these are Ferris wheel press carousel pens. If you're not familiar with carousel pens, this is what they look like. And they're just super, basic, sort of simple pens. I personally don't write with them very often, but my kids do. So I love that they're like all sorts of fun, bright colors, and they do partner really well with the ink colors that Ferris Wheel Press releases. And so I let my kids sort of try these out, get them into fountain pens that way. Then a few more pens that I don't have inked up yet. This is the Esterbrook Esty in Scarlet Red. The nib that I have in here is a Waverly, and so it sort of has a slight upturn to it. And I don't have it inked up yet, but it will be coming back in my lineup. Then I also have this Platinum Century 3776. It has a gold nib as well. It is ground as an ultra extra fine, and also known as needlepoint. So it is the thinnest line that you can get with a nib. Then I have 2 maker pens. These are Franklin Christophs, and this is a 46 and this is an 03. And the nib that I have in this is a medium cursive italic. And I love that when you order Franklin Christoph pens directly from them, you can get, sort of stock nibs, or you can get certain in-house ground nibs. So this one I got is a raven black nib that's ground into a double broad sig. And so it sort of has this like stub italic writing style to it. And yeah, these are really great pens. Depends if you're into clips or not. And they have all sorts of different varieties, different styles. The other two Franklin Christophs that I have are pocket pens. So these are called Pocket 20s. This one has no clip. This one actually is a collaboration between Franklin Christoph and Wonder Pens, a Toronto stationery shop. And Pocket 20s have a slip cap, and so you don't twist them to open. And this nib is a broad architect. And then the second pocket pen from Franklin Christoph is this really cool one. And then the nib I have in here is the Sunkuksen, which is like a Techo nib in a double broad. And a couple more on this tray. This is a Muji pen, which is basically an unbranded Platinum Preppy. So the thing I like about this one is that it's very simple, but what I use it for is to put in a platinum carbon ink cartridge. And so carbon ink can be hard to clean out if you have it in a regular pen. Not always, but it can be, especially if you don't use it often. So I throw it in here because, you know, it's sort of a simple pen that I always know I have carbon ink in this, so I can always turn to it if I want to use it. And then I have a Skogsy pens, Baby Saguaro in this with Ulta material, and it's just a really, really cute pocket pen that uses a short cartridge. And then finally, we get to my currently inked pens. So a couple of these are actually inked, or a few of these are actually inked. And then I have these that are inked. I love with collections that, you know, I got this Kaweco Sport years ago. And so, you know, used it. It has a fine nib. And I love it. But, you know, I sort of retired it because I started using broader nibs. But then I brought this back recently just to fall in love with it again. And I did, as I, you know, sort of just take notes with it, or I have this with me sometimes if I'm on the go. And I used a short ink cartridge in here, and it's very handy to have. And so I love falling in love with my pens again after putting them away for a little while. And so I have the Pocket 20s, which we already talked about. And then the other two pens that I have that I really, really love are the Pilot Vanishing Point, or capless, basically meaning they don't have a cap because they have a knock. So you just sort of clickety-clack, click them on and off. And this one, actually, the matte black, is my most recent purchase. I got it with a broad nib, which is a gold nib, as well as this one, also a gold nib. It's in medium though. And this is a Sailor Pro Gear Slim, a collaboration with Cult Pens. Really, really pretty color. Then I have a few Estes. This one's an Esterbrook Este in Aqua. And the nib I have in here is a broad journaler. Ground by Gina. And I love the Esterbrook Estes because they have this cigar shape, very comfortable to hold and to write with. I find them not too big in my hand, but, you know, very balanced. This one is the Este in Nouveau Bleu. So I got it with the Techo nib, and it's just perfect to journal with, to write with, to draw with. And it fits perfectly in my hand, gives me a great writing experience. You can use an ink cartridge or a converter. And so, you know, I just keep filling it up with ink and keep writing with it. A recent purchase was this Este Quirky Leaf. It's a very, very, really pretty vintage green color with this orange band on it. And I just got a broad nib. So it is very juicy. It's a great writer, very smooth, and I love it. Then I have the SD Raven. It's a matte black finish, all black. And I got it with a button piston filler. So it has a button in the back that you push you push it in and release it to fill it up with ink. And so you have this ink window that will show you how much ink you have in it. And the nib is also this matte black or this glossy black finish. So it's a very sleek looking pen. I got it with the broad nib and it writes very juicy. And then I have the Sailor Fude de Manin, which is a Fude nib, slightly upturned, great for drawing, but also for hand lettering. So you can get some nice headers. And then my last currently inked is the Benu Euphoria. This is a collaboration with the Pen Addict. So I think it was for Brad's 15th anniversary. So if you were to ask me what is a great starter pen or beginner fountain pen if you're starting your journey, I would probably recommend these 5 pens. One of these would be a great starter pen for you. And they are relatively inexpensive, but they're sort of different in their own little way. So the Pilot Metropolitan writes really well. It's a Pilot nib, so reliable. I love that it's the snap cap, so it's easy to just, take off the cap, start writing. The second pen I would recommend is a Platinum Preppy. Definitely recommend this even if you are an experienced fountain pen user. I have this inked all the time because you just throw a black cartridge in there and it's a great reliable pen to have on you. Anytime you need to use a fountain pen or want to use a fountain pen, this is a great choice. Also a snap cap, so easy to open and close. I would also recommend the Lamy Safari. This is the pen that I started with, and I love it because it has a snap cap. It's a reliable writer. They have all sorts of different nib options that you can use. It's a cartridge or converter user, and you can get all sorts of different colors. Fourth pen I would recommend is the Kaweco Sport. This is a pocket pen, so really it's easy to travel with, easy to carry around. The converter, you can use a cartridge or a converter. The converter is really tiny, so this is what it looks like. It's a very small converter, so it doesn't hold a lot of ink, but it's great for just sort of having on you and using for writing when you have to. This is a twist cap, but you can see how small and cute that is. And then my final recommendation is the TWSBI Eco. This one does not use a cartridge or a converter. This one's a piston filler. So what you have to do is sort of figure out the mechanism of filling it using an ink bottle. But that opens up a whole world of different types of inks that you can get. Really, if you want to fall into the rabbit hole, this is the pen to start it with. And you can get an extra fine, medium, broad, or stub nib. They are reliable to write with, and you can get all sorts of different colors. And so that's my fountain pen collection. I have pretty much talked about all of them, and my favorite pen out of all of them probably would be the SD, as I mentioned, with the Techo nib. The second favorite is probably this matte black, or even the Stormtrooper white black vanishing point. I do love the medium Pilot nib, and the broad is very close too. So these two are probably my second go-tos, especially because they are so easy to use, because you don't have to fiddle with a cap. And then I love the maker pens, so the Franklin Christoph, I love the Skogsy, you know, these are very, very close to being my favorite pens, just all around, because I love that there are makers in the community who are, you know, willing to make pens that fit different hands, different writing styles. 10 brands that I want to add to my collection probably include a Leonardo, because I don't have an Italian pen and I would love to add one to my collection. And personally, I feel like you don't have to have the most expensive pens in your collection to be, you know, to be in love with using fountain pens. I think if you have a variety of them for different uses and different experiences, then I think you'll enjoy pens overall. So for me, I love that I have, you know, stock pens. I have unbranded, sort of no name or cheaper pens, as you would say, more affordable. And I also have, you know, more expensive pens and gold nibs versus stainless steel nibs, and they all just give a different writing experience, and it's all about how you feel while you're using them. Because if you enjoy looking aesthetics, you know, looking at a beautiful pen makes you really enjoy writing with it, then go for it. You know, get all the pens that look great to you. And if you are, you know, more into pens that have a great writing experience, then, you know, get those types of pens that give you a smooth writing experience and are handy to have. So that's my fountain pen collection. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments if you are a collector, what's your favorite pen? And if you're a beginner, what pens have you tried and which one do you enjoy so far? Happy Fountain Pen Day. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Corolla on Instagram. I'm @FromCorolla. Bye.